Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Kern Schools Federal Credit Union, California Resources Corporation, Bakersfield West Rotary Stroop Family Foundation, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, Bakersfield City School District, and the Kern High School District, with additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.
Today we are at the Boys and Girls Club on Niles Street, and I am with Laura and Ian Journey with Baker's Outpost. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Can you kind of quickly tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Laura Journey. We started Baker's Outpost about 2 years ago, and
what exactly is Baker's Outpost?
Baker's Outpost is a naturally leavened bread company. We focus on sourdoughs and fresh milled baked goods. We strive in old world traditions and minimal sugars and just bringing like nutritious, wholesome food back into people's diets.
And how did you get started with that?
When we moved here about 7-8 years ago from Canada, I was missing good bread, and so with 2 small kids and needing something new to fill my time, I slowly started producing bread more and more, and it just kind of became something we turned into a business.
And Ian, what do you do besides being an owner as well?
Not owner, an assistant to the baker, I clarify. I am, by day, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I design HVAC and plumbing systems, and then by night I am a delivery or whatever else needs to be done, yeah. But so actually the firm that I work for, Baskin Mechanical Engineers, we helped design this kitchen, so it's cool to actually be working, doing my passion with my wife in a kitchen that I didn't personally help with, but it's something that is near and dear to my heart because it's something I do on a regular basis.
And we're here quite a lot at the Boys and Girls Club. And last time we were here, this was just like the beginning phases.
Okay.
They hadn't even started. So it's really exciting to see. Can you kind of show us around with everything that's going on?
So the biggest difference compared to last time you were here, where it's more of a residential style kitchen, here you have fully commercial, what's called a Type 1 grease hood with fire protection. So if an accident were to happen, there's sensors that would trigger the Ansel system to put the fire out. The other big upgrade is the walk-in refrigerator and freezer. So this gives the Boys and Girls Club ample space to store all of their goods.
And being at other businesses, this obviously is a business type of freezer, correct?
Yeah, this is what you would see at any of your favorite restaurants around town. Yeah.
So besides all of this over here, and then let's talk about the ovens, because those are all new as well.
Yeah, so the ovens, actually that's one thing I'll let Laura talk a little bit more about, but the ovens are just a typical convection oven that you would use for baking chicken or pies. Laura's actually kind of found a cheater way to replicate those old world wood-fired ovens to get the nice crusty bread that you'll see here in a little bit. So she was able to utilize generic ovens, to get the product that she wants.
Laura, can you kind of explain what you do with the ovens to get that?
Yeah, so when this whole frenzy of kind of sourdough baking came about, people started experimenting how to get the same effect of a like hearth-baked loaf at home. And so the way they discovered that was through baking with like Dutch ovens or cast iron pots. So I bake out of 24 cast iron launch pots at a time that I load in and out of these ovens, and that's how I simulate what I would get out of a deck oven, which is what we will be using when we have our brick and mortar. So it's a flat top deck oven that has steam injection that blocks and gives you that nice crispy crust.
So we are going to be seeing those in a little bit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you will.
So you have some recipes for us, right? Okay, so when we come back, you're going to be showing us a little bit about your recipes,
Yes.
things you do.
Look forward to it.
All right. We are back at the Boys and Girls Club on Niles Street with Laura and Ian Journey from Baker's Outpost. And so now we're going to kind of go into your world of baking. And I love it how you have on your thing over there, it says bread is all about proportions. Can you kind of explain?
Yeah, so a baker's percentage is a way of breaking down proportions so that you can either scale up or down as you need. You can use baker's percentages not just with bread, but with all sorts of baked goods. In baker's percentages, the total weight of the flour is always at 100%, and all other ingredients are expressed in relation to this. So I just have like a little bit of a sample here. So if we needed 10 loaves at 960 grams each, which is what these are, a standard loaf that we do, our total dough weight would be 19,600 grams. From that, to figure out your flour, which was always at 100%, you would add up all of these ingredients. So you would take your water weight, your starter, your yeast, the salt, and the flour, add that up. So here you can add those all up and see you've got a total of 212. You take that 212 into the 100%, which gives you 0.47. So you take that number, multiply it by your total dough weight, which we figured out here was 19,600 grams, and that's going to give you your total weight here in flour grams, 9,245 grams, and from there you use that number just going down the list and multiplying to figure out your total dough weight.
Okay, Laura, so one of your vendors calls in to make an order. What do you do here? What calculations will you make?
So I would first off find out, so one of my vendors would be the Padre Hotel. They have a pretty standard loaf size. If they called and ordered, let's say 20 loaves, each of those loaves I make weigh 1,500 grams. So if you need 20 loaves total and each is going to be 1,500 grams, that's going to give you a total dough weight, which I abbreviate with TDW, is going to be 30,000 grams. So that's your total dough weight. From here you need to figure out, flour is always 100%, so we know that. You need to figure out what you want your hydration to be at. I work with typically around 85% hydration. And then levain, which is your starter or your yeast, I work with roughly 25%. And my salt is 2%. So you're gonna take these up and add that up.
I noticed that. I was thinking that all of this had to equal 100%, but it doesn't.
Right, so that's the one confusing part, and some people get a little confused with, is that the flour is always 100%, but then your number that you use to add in is going to equal more than 100%.
I could see how that's confusing.
Yeah. And so here, as you can see, we have the same total percent as we did on the board, because these are typically my ratios here. And so here you've got 212%. And so to figure out your flour weight, you're gonna take 30,000 and divide it by 212%. Divided by 212, which gives you 14,151 if you round up grams. So this is going to be your flour weight. So from there, to find out your hydration or your water weight, you take this number, multiply it by 85%.
So obviously there is a lot of math here with your percents and decimals too, right? Because you're having to change these percents to decimals.
So that would give you 12,028 grams of water. And then your levain. So you're always going back to that flour, which is always your 100%. So you're using that 14,151 and multiplying it by 25%. which is going to give you 3,538 if you round up. And then your salt, which here you have it at 2%. So 14,151 times 2% is 283.
So
And so this is all in grams. And so if you add all of that up, 14,151, 12,028, 3538, and 283, you get 30,000.
wow.
So
Lot
there
of
you
math.
go.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of math,
There
but
is.
once you get the hang of it, it makes life so much easier.
And-
So
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, here's some little facts with like comparing formulas easily. So imagine comparing different weights or volumes with percentages. Everything can be compared using a common language. You can also adjust formulas, create or adapt formulas, and scale formulas up and down with ease. You can take any given formula, recipe, and quickly identify with and predict the characteristics of the final product without having to do the baking first. So, for example, with a brioche loaf, you would look at the fat percentage would be like astronomically high. So you know that you would have a richer loaf. So it's really interesting to look at percentages in things and know automatically this is going to be sweet, this is going to be fattening, this will be this. So
There's a lot, and there's so much more we need to talk about. We are back at the Boys and Girls Club on Niles Street, and I am with Laura and Ian Journey from Baker's Outpost. And we just finished up with a wonderful math problem, and so much math involved in this. Can you kind of go a little bit more into the actual baking process and all that's involved? Because obviously when kids bake, they're just following this recipe, right? But it's not that simple.
Yeah, I think the thing with the bread that a lot of people don't understand is with it being naturally leavened, meaning that we're not using any commercial yeast that you would buy at, say, Vaughn's or Albertsons. We're harvesting yeast from the air, and so by the nature of using the natural ingredients, it typically takes about 24 to 48 hours from start to finish to make a loaf of bread. And a lot of that has to do with the ambient conditions, so weather, humidity, time of day. It just seems like there's a lot of variables that you have to be really adaptive, even though you're following a recipe. And it might have turned out, the bread might have turned out good yesterday. Now, especially this time of year with the weather changing, Laura, I think, is having to adapt her schedule, and I think things are moving a little slower. Things typically, kind of like in a lot of things in chemistry, heat tends to activate things, and that's true for wild bacteria.
Can you talk a little bit about the yeast, okay? Because some people don't really understand what the yeast is.
Yeah, so the yeast we call our mother. It's kind of like a third child for us that we have to feed and take care of. But what you're doing there is you're mixing typically about equal parts flour and water, and we put that in a warm place, so say like on top of your refrigerator, and you can actually harvest the yeast in the air by every day throwing away half of that amount and then replenishing it or feeding the starter. And over time, you'll start to see activity, you'll start to see bubbles, you'll start to see it grow and sink and really get in a rhythm. The really interesting thing is that San Francisco, you hear the term San Francisco sourdough, that's actually not really good marketing on their part. That's actually because there is a certain bacteria strain that is natural in the air up there that creates really good sourdough, and that really particular sour flavor. So that was something interesting that I didn't know.
Your yeast, you were saying, how long have you had your yeast, your starter?
We've had it since we were in Vancouver, living up in Canada, about like 8-9 years ago. But I think we were talking about it earlier, and I mean, when you're throwing it away and replenishing it every day, those same bacteria that were in there 9 years ago are not in there. So it's been going a long time, but I don't think it has much to do with the final product.
Now, also your flour, you were saying that you have a special flour you use.
Yeah, we support the Tehachapi Grain Project up in Tehachapi. They're dear friends of ours and working really hard to regenerate the California grain economy. So they specialize in Abruzzi rye, red fife, and Sonora, and so that is what we tend to use a lot of.
Sonora and Red 5 are types of wheat specific that, like Laura was saying, they're drought tolerant. So that's really just trying to recreate the wheat industry in California, because I think we used to grow a lot of wheat, maybe 100 years ago or so, and so it's really fascinating. And going back to how we started the company too, they were big supporters of ours and us wanting to give back and share such beautiful product that's from our own backyard with the rest of the community.
So let's talk about your business. Where are you moving forward with your business right now?
We are going to be opening a small brick and mortar downtown, taking a little bit of an extra longer time than we had anticipated, but we're really looking forward to being a part of the community, and they've opened us with big, wide open arms ever since we started dealing with the public, so we're really looking forward to it.
And what is your hours and your final goal for your product for that business?
We will be early mornings, catering to the early risers, the breakfast and early lunch, community things on the weekends, just looking to being a part of engaging with other like-minded individuals who are focusing on nurturing their bodies with simple foods.
Out of everything that you bake, what is your favorite thing?
Ooh.
I would have to say her chocolate sourdough is, it's not only good, but it's also really unique, and you're not gonna, I don't think I've seen it anywhere else, and yeah, it's very good. They, even using it in, like, we have friends that use it in kind of savory, like grilled cheese sandwich, because it's not very sweet, so it's a real subtle chocolate flavor, but it's very delicious.
Well, the best of luck to you guys, and a little token of our appreciation
Thank you.
for letting
Then I'll have
us
to go into
visit
our
with
new
you.
kitchen.
Oh, yay! Well,
Thank
again,
you so much.
thank you, and best luck to you. And I know the bread is wonderful because I've had some before. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.